Hey there, little mama. You know what? Today, this episode is episode number 100. That's right. We're celebrating our 100th episode with you, moms just like us. I'm so excited. Thank you. Yes, it's my little applause button. But honestly, applause should go to you because moms like us, moms, are really special. You have put your mothering in a position in your life where it's not just an accessory. It is actually an important part of your life, and your children are benefiting from it. Your marriages are benefiting from it. And I love the responses that you've given me about the things that have gone on inside of our academy and on the podcast, where your lives have been changed because of the experts that we have and all the information you're getting on being a mom. I've thought really long and hard about what to do for this 100th episode. It's a milestone. I'm really proud of you, and I'm proud of me and our staff and our great producers that we've made it this far. But I wanted to talk to you about something that is just so near and dear to my heart. And it's not as celebratory as you might think, but I want to talk to you about the value of motherhood. Now, I'm not just going to talk to you about how awesome motherhood is and you know how much you love it and all that. I know you already know that. We have lots of episodes on that. I want to talk to you about the decline of motherly intuition and what's going to happen if we keep having women that really don't want to be mothers. And it's an interesting concept. And a lot of people in my arena are really looking at it and bringing it to the forefront. In the Moms Like Us Academy and in the Moms Like Us podcast world, we want to restore the value to motherhood, marriage. And today I want to talk to you about why it is vital that we restore the value to motherhood. On Moms Like Us Do Things Like This. Welcome to the Moms Like Us podcast, where moms just like you learn strategies, systems, and skills through expert interviews and real-life insight designed to take your marriage, mothering, and home to the expert level. Hi, I'm Mona Corwin, your mom mentor and host, author, international speaker, and the founder of the Moms Like Us Academy. I've been coaching moms for over 25 years, and I have some really good news for you. Motherhood isn't a natural talent. It's a skill, and you can learn it. You can crush it at motherhood instead of motherhood crushing you. So let's get to today's show. Okay, let's get right to it. Well, the studies have come out, and the bold fact is, and it's kind of a scary fact, about the viability of mothers. In our culture, we've kind of been told some statistical lies. And those statistics are that we're overpopulated and there's too many people on the planet. And in reality, that's not true. There's actually a decline in the amount of babies that are being born. And some of that is through abortion, and some of it is through choice that women are not wanting to have babies. It's kind of a dismal statistic from the women your age, let's say 30 and under, that are saying we don't really want to have kids. And we can kind of see the reason for that in the culture that we live in. But what if we don't restore the value to motherhood? And I think it's vital. Families are under attack by the enemy. We know that. We know children are definitely under the attack, right? With the abortion levels, with the attacks on the kids' gender, the stuff in the schools, all of the things they don't want you to have control over your kids. They know better than we do. We've talked about all these things of how they really want parents to not really be necessarily a thing that has to stay. And we're vital. We're vital in God's plan. We've talked about how God's plan and his design around the family and motherhood and marriage and home and masculinity and femininity. We focus on these things in our Moms Like Us world. When I saw these statistics and heard some people talking, I thought, oh my goodness, this is more than just I want women to love their gift of being a mother and being a wife and having a home. This became extremely vital for our society. I know that sounds really deep, but stay with me. I want to tell you some of this stuff. What they're finding is that there is a decline in motherly intuition. Now, I'm going to read you something from this study, and I'm going to read it right off of here so I get it straight. You see, we're seeing a move away from motherly intuition, and they wondered why. Like, why are so many women not really intuitive about their mothering? Because in the world, the way God made it, and in his design, mammals, including us, have a motherly natural instinct that drives us towards our offspring. Okay, and this is where the study starts. It drives us towards our offspring, and we enter maternal preoccupation, and that is really normal. It's by design. God designed it that way. God designed it that way so that we would take care of our children. We went from children ourselves to adults, and we're kind of focused on us and our dreams and our visions and all the things that we want. But when children come in, we have to shift our perspective, as you well know, and children become the more important thing. And we need to be preoccupied with our children because they're babies. And if we don't do stuff, they die, right? But here's what they're saying. If we depress it long enough, this maternal preoccupation, I'll explain it in just a second. If we depress it long enough for generations, then it actually becomes a repressed instinct in our subconscious, meaning that we no longer feel the drive, the instinct, or the preoccupation to be with our children. This is a natural thing that's passed on from mother to child to the mother to the child. It is a very important part of the research by Michael Meany, and this is what it says. Mothers, in his study, and he did it on animals, mothers who lick and groom their young raise offspring who lick and groom their young. But if mothers didn't lick and groom their young, they couldn't pass on the licking and the grooming to the next generation. The result is babies who had been licked and groomed became more resilient to the stress and the adversity than the babies who were not licked and groomed. This is really, really important. And it has to be the mother. It can't be like the cat when it's a dog. It can't be something different. The mother is so valuable, especially in the first 3 years. A mother's value is beyond just, oh, I think I want to have kids and have a house in the suburbs and drive a minivan, which I never wanted to drive a minivan. I don't know if y'all do or not. I know they're a lot better than they were when my kids were little. But what happens is that the kids don't get attached. They have attachment problems. Now, I know you've heard about that before, but it is vital at this point because some of the girls, the women that are in their 20s, don't want to have babies because they didn't have an attachment to their mother. They had an attachment problem. And most of it, not all of it, of course, is from the mother not being there. They weren't nurtured by their mothers. I know I've seen this so much. And honestly, I have my 2 youngest daughters were not nurtured by their mothers because we got them when they were older. and they had problems later in life. And that is exactly what they're saying. They're saying that if we don't continue to do this as mothers, we are not passing down this motherly intuitive instinct. We're not passing it on to the next generation. And then we have women that don't want to have babies. And this isn't about working or not working. Do you understand me? I think you've been around me long enough to know that I believe you can have it all. You just can't have it all at the same time, sweetie. Now we can live to be 100. My husband's father is 102 and a half. And he just now went into an assisted living. I mean, people are living a long time. And you have all that time to chase the things that your desires and the things you want to be. And raising children is a small part of that. But it's the part that in your whole life, it might not make any difference, right? Just a few years to do what you're going to do. Or maybe it's 18 years. That's not much when you consider you're going to live to be, let's just say 80 even. It might not make a big deal in your life, time-wise, or the things that you want to do or accomplish, the things that God's put inside of you. But it could make a big difference in your children. It could change things for them if you don't. And while I don't like to give real negative stuff, and I don't want to say that this is like, friend, this is important. The studies that are coming out are showing so much towards the fact that motherhood, you know what? It's super valuable. It's super important. And you know what? It could be the most important job of the world. I think it is. If we are not nurturing our children and raising them up under God's design and God's ways, or even the ones that don't believe in God, just moral value people, they're going to struggle. They're going to have challenges because they haven't been nurtured properly at the beginning of their lives. Now, that this doesn't mean there are other ways that if you've missed this window, don't be beating yourself up. This is not a guilt trip, and I'm not here to shame anybody. But inside of us, we know we're supposed to be with our babies. We know it. But the culture has said, no, you don't. They'll get it. Quit babying him. You pick that baby up every time it cries. Well, you know what? The CAT scans and the MRIs that are out now show that a baby, when it is crying and it is under 1 year of age, it is in distress. And they call mothers, what was this? This is awesome. They said that mothers are the soothers of distress. That's what mothers do. And within that time period, it is essential that a mother helps regulate a baby. When a human baby is born, it's not fully formed like some animals. It takes time for it to develop. And during that time, it needs to be able to come back to regulation. And when they're in distress, the cortisol that shoves through their body is really hard on them. And it's so easy for it to be regulated. And it's been be regulated by the mother's face, by the sound of the mother's voice, or just the mother's physical skin. And it can regulate itself. And it's not to say, it doesn't mean that fathers can't do that. It just means that mothers are uniquely designed to do that. And God made it that way. So the baby that has been in your belly knows your voice, knows your heartbeat, knows the smell of you, and all of that. And it calms them because it's what they know. And then as they grow, they learn that other things are safe too. But they learn those things are safe because you keep bringing them back to regulation, to homeostasis. We bring them back to a harmonious thing and go, oh, it's okay. And you know how it is when you're on the playground and your little one's out running around and they look back over to see if you're still there. And you wave and then they keep playing. Or if they fall down and they get hurt, where do they go first? They come running to you so that you can help them. This is called mothering. This is called helping them manage and facilitate the feelings and emotions and this new stuff that's coming at them. It's not new to you. And telling a kid, oh, it's okay, stand up, you're fine, it doesn't really help them. It may get them to not come to you anymore, but are they learning how to manage those emotions and those feelings? Now, when they're 9 years old and they're doing it, then, you gotta, you gotta go, babe, you're fine. You need to get up and get going. But when they're real small, like under 5, they need you to help them regulate those emotions and those feelings and learn that it's okay to be scared, but what do I do about that? And what does it mean? I have a product called What to Do with a Feeling, and it's to teach kids 31 different emotions so that they can communicate to you what they're feeling instead of just mad, happy, scared, sad. And that is helpful in teaching them how to do that. And that's what a mother does. It doesn't mean that a dad can't do that. Dad joins in also. But a mother is uniquely designed, and the reason she is because she is a soother of distress. I love this. Another term that I've learned recently, which you know this, we just have a term for it. It's called the sensitive, empathetic nurturing. That's what a woman does. A woman's naturally inclined to do that when she has a baby. The oxytocin that is inside of her after she has a baby creates this where I'm checking, I'm looking at my baby. My baby can sense what's going on with me. It's super, super important. Now, my oldest daughter, we adopted her when she was just super little, like under a week. And so I breastfed her, which I know is unique, and I'd be happy to talk to any of you adopted moms about that. Just let me know. But I started nursing her when she was a week old. And I know that the best would have been her birth mom, but her birth mom was wonderful, but she was 15. So we adopted Mallory, and the bond was quickly attached to us, to me, even though I wasn't the mother. It was quickly done. So it can be done, but it takes time and it takes presence. You've got to be there. You've got to be there. Now, this doesn't mean you sit with your baby all the time and you only rock them and only, like you order out dinner because you never cook because you're only holding your baby. That's not it. It's finding the rhythm that when they're in distress, you can get there. You can get there. And if you can't hear them because you're in another city, then you can't help them. And they're in distress. And the chemicals inside of their body are going crazy. When we drop off our kids at daycares or wherever we're dropping them and leaving to go to work, we instinctively know this isn't right, this isn't good. But the culture has lied to us and said, oh no, it's perfectly fine. You just need to stay with it. The baby will be fine. You will both get used to it. Yeah, you'll both get used to it. But it isn't the best. It isn't the best. It doesn't have the best benefit. It just doesn't. And there are women that have to do that. And I hope you're not one of them. A lot of our culture has said that you can't be home with your children and when they're young because you can't afford it. Well, we're working on something really wonderful, and it'll be released here in the next 6 months or so. But it is a guide to help you find out, can I get home? How much time can I get home? Can I be home at all? And if you can't, well, then you'll have to figure something out. But there are ways to make that happen. This doesn't mean you never work. This doesn't mean you don't work when you're at home. If you're finding a way to do work at home or to make money at home, then when your baby cries, you can go to it. Some jobs are perfect for it. You know, in other countries, women take their babies to work. They, like in India and stuff like that, they have to go out in the fields. They strap their kids on their backs and they take their kids with them where they're at. Or they are going to sell their wares in the marketplace, or there's a family bakery and the kids are all there. I just heard a woman talking about the fact that she had a beauty salon and a hair salon, and they created an entire room in the back for the kids, and the kids were there. And if she had to stop and she was working on hair, then she would go and handle her children. This is the way it was. Like, families were together. They weren't separated. So there are professions where it makes it easier to do it than not. But I don't want to go off on the feminists again, but I mean, this is kind of when it happened. So just to give you cultural timeline, when the feminists started saying that women needed to go out and find themselves, and that what they were doing at home was drudgery and it was gross and it was only for really dumb people, which actually that mentality still exists, that you needed to go out and be something, what you were created to be. You needed to be like a man. Men get to go out and do it. You need to get out and do it. Your kids will be fine. Okay, well, some of that is true, but most of it's a lie. Because they wanted us to go out and be like a man, but we're women, and we have children. And we're distinctively designed to be the soother. The soother. Isn't that awesome? To have motherly intuition. And now they're seeing that we are the soothers of distress. I can't almost think of a better description of a mom. I mean, I live my life trying to, even now my kids are big. I was talking to one of my kids, and a tree had blown down in their yard, and I'm like, oh man, this is terrible. The trees are down in their yard, and they just had all this other stuff happen, and all of a sudden I'm like, pretty sure they're big and they know how to take care of it and call the insurance company. And then I realized I have a tree in my yard that's down. And I didn't feel the distress about my tree. And it reminded myself, oh, that's right. I am the soother of distress. I wanted to soothe their distress, but they're adults, so I don't have to do it like that anymore. But when something really hard happens in their lives, I still get to be the soother of their distress. Because mother, you're always a mom. It just changes in the way that you are interacting with your kids. Another thing that happened is, if we were going to go out and be like a man, well, the workplace is away from the home. And that's just the way the world is for men in the 60s. So it didn't really have to do with work. It just had to do with the devil wanting women out of the house. You see, the attack is spiritual. The attack is spiritual, honey. The enemy of our soul, the enemy of God, does not want families to thrive. He does not want marriages to flourish. And he certainly doesn't want homes to feel like heaven on earth, even if they're loud and chaotic. No. The whole thing is to do what he wanted to do from the very beginning. He wanted to separate Eve first, Eve from Adam, and then Adam and Eve from the Lord. And he succeeded there, and he's never stopped. And he's all about destroying the family. And it's really serious. And in this 100th episode, I just want to go back to the roots of why I do what I do. Honestly, I just love moms so much. You know, when I see somebody has a new baby and they're pushing them in the cart, in their strollers, everybody's oohing and ahhing about the baby. I'm not looking at the baby. I'm looking at the mom. I'm looking at her. And I'm kind of assessing, is she tired? You know, is she happy? Is she struggling? Is there anything I can do to help? But most always, no matter what, if everybody's looking at her baby, she is too, and she's smiling. There's something that clicks on. Before you have a baby, you're kind of like, I got my job, I've got my education, which those are all good things. You should get an education, sure. You should take what God's given you and the gifts and talents that he's given you, and you should take them to the excellent degree. And no matter how long that takes, because what you have inside of you is important to the world. But what you have inside of you as a mother is the most important in the world. So you have your job and you're all excited and you're full into your job. Your focus is there. Your attention is there. Yeah, it's your baby, right? And then after you have a baby, then the focus just hormonally changes you in your mind and you want to be with your baby. Your baby becomes your baby. And that's when the motherly intuition kicks in. That's when it kicks in. We don't want to suppress the maternal preoccupation with our children. We need to be preoccupied with a baby, and especially one under 5, because who's gonna put up with what we put up with, right? Who's gonna do that? I mean, seriously, only a mom. And when we can, what does that study say? When we can lick and groom our children, we raise children that become more resilient to stress and adversity than babies who were not licked and groomed. This man's study is in depth, and it's really, it verifies what you and I both know in our hearts. I also want to talk to you for just a second about guilt. Guilt isn't a bad thing. Shame is not good, but guilt is not. When we feel guilt, there's something inside of us that wants to check and see if it's right. And that is a very good thing. So when you feel guilt, if you feel guilty because you yelled at your husband or because you said too many cuss words, that happened to me a lot when I was a mom. Yeah. Just saying. I would feel guilty. But instead of going to shame, I learned just to repent. Just to repent. So when I felt guilty, I kind of weighed it back and forth, like exactly what am I feeling guilty about? And is it true? Is it a lie from the enemy? Or do I truly need to do something different? But shame is your bad. You are bad. You are awful. You, that's you should be ashamed of yourself. We're not. We're not under shame and condemnation from God. But guilt is a gift. Guilt is a gift because it helps us reevaluate something that we see or we're doing or we have done. And then we need to readjust. We need to repent. Well, I guess repent first, and then ask God to show us where to readjust and move on. And what a wonderful gift to teach your kids. You teach them that. All these things that you've learned in your life, you get to teach it to your kids. Another thing that happens is this preoccupation. Okay, so we get this internal instinct and we're preoccupied with our kids. Now, let's just say you've decided that you must work. So you have some time, but your child is still your most important thing. And this job over here is just something that you do outside of that. So it's the preoccupation must be the child. Your family and your children must be the priority. We talk about priorities, right? So that's kind of the same. When you become more occupied with taking care of your business or your work than your children, you need to adjust because you only get one time to go through with your kids. You get to do your work your whole life if you want to. You just go in and out depending on the age of your children or how you can do that. And that's how women have always done it. Even in other countries where they must work. They have to go out in the field. They have to dig the potatoes. They have to go out in the garden. People had barns. They had cows. But everything was still centered around family. And that's the way God designed it. God designed it this way. So when I say preoccupation, and this we've seen a lot, that mothers, that their kids are just another accessory. You know, it was like, okay, I'm in college, I'm dating a boy, check. He must define the relationship. He does. Then we got to start looking for a ring. I have to have just the right ring. He's got to check with everybody to make sure I have the right ring. And then, then you've got the proposal and the pressure of all of that. And Pinterest and the Instagram and all of that are not helping us in any of this, honestly. The pressure is ridiculous. But we do that. And then we start planning the wedding, and everything's got to be just right. Even if we overspend, it doesn't matter. It's got to be what it's got to be. And so we get that. And then it's okay. Now we're in our apartment or home. And then we've got to buy a home. And that these are just accessories. A child is not an accessory. It's what all the accessories are for. Your husband, your children, your womanhood, and your home. Those are the essentials. Those are the most important things. Those are the things to be preoccupied with. If you're just going to have your kid be an accessory and you're going to let someone else raise it and put it in all kinds of jeopardy because of that, or up for challenges in its lifetime, what are you doing? Don't have any kids. Enjoy other people's children. Be a great aunt. But don't have kids because kids require preoccupation. Okay, so I know this is kind of hard talk, but something tells me that the moms like us that I talk to, the women that I talk to, which are probably listening today, you're one of them, you agree. You agree. Okay, so the world also says that moms stay at home. Um, yeah, you're just too smart for that. I remember um, telling someone that all I wanted to do was be a mom and a wife, and they said, "Oh, you're too smart for that." And I thought, "Yeah, I'm too smart for that. Yeah, like I'm gonna do amazing things, and I'm gonna, I was just all that stuff." And I was wrong. And when my daughter, Mallory, went to her first counselor thing to, kind of figure out what she wanted to do, go to college and all that stuff. And she said, that the lady said, "Well, what do you want to be when you grow up?" And she said, "Well, I want to be a youth pastor and a mom." And I was so mad at her. I said, you have to get a degree. You have to go to college and get a degree." And on the way out, my husband's like, "You're crazy. Do you not see she just wants to be like you? She sees it and she knows that it's good and wonderful and she wants to do it." And I was wrong. I was totally wrong. Now it is kind of interesting that that's still her greatest desire, and she's a children's pastor in Nashville, one of the best in the country actually. She goes around teaching other people how to do what she does in her program with those kids. And God knows. God knows that maternal, what did they call it? We're soothers. Don't you love that? We're soothers of distress. I just love that. Okay. So a mom isn't somebody that's just stupid. That's just not true. I heard the advice of Erica Cosmere the other day, and she said, when someone tells you that you're not, I had that quote here. She was really talking seriously. I thought I wrote it down. Shoot. Oh, here it is. She's okay. So y'all are going to love this. So when people say, "So you just stay at home," and she said, "This is what you should say," and she's kind of trying to get us all to change the narrative of being a mom and home and family. And I love what she has said. She said, "Do this. Say, well, actually, did you know that mothering is the most important work there is? Much more important than any work you could ever do outside the walls of our homes." I think that's true. I really do. There are lots of things you can do and a lot of things you will do. I've done a lot of things, but my home has never suffered because of it. And that's the key. That's the key that we have to have. Okay, let's see. Oh, the world tells us that kids are going to ruin everything: romance, careers, even getting a shower. We've heard these before too. It's the negative motherhood thing that goes on and on and on. I hear it all the time. And the negative narrative, I'm not quite sure what it is. If it's moms trying to feel like I can't get a shower, so I'm trying to prove that what I'm doing is really hard and it's significant. And I think that era needs to go away. It just needs to go away. Because you can take a shower, it takes 10 minutes, put your baby in the tub in front, if you have a split shower and tub, with some toys, you can see them right there, and they can't climb out. Or put them in their little cradle thing and leave the shower door open while you shower. If a baby can see you, they're going to be happy. If they're crying, well, then just let them cry for a little bit while you rinse your hair. But you can take a shower. What I think happens to moms is not that they get tired of being with their children or even their children crying. They get overwhelmed with the responsibility all day long of being a mom and making the food and cleaning everything up. And it's 24/7. So the responsibility gets kind of heavy. Not the burden of the baby, not the burden of the little smiles and giggles. Those kind of weigh themselves out and help us. It's the responsibility, the 24/7 responsibility. And if we can explain that to our husbands, then sometimes we can get a relief for self-care, like we talk about in the academy. Another thing that they say, that it's going to ruin your career and that ladder. You're never going to break the glass ceiling if you step out of the workforce. You're going to miss another rung on the ladder, and everybody's going to be ahead of you. That might be fine for people to say out in the secular world. But if you're a believer in Jesus, then I have to tell you that's a lie. Because God plans your ways. God makes a way where there isn't a way. God knows where to step and where to move. Remember, in Jeremiah 29:11, it says, I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you. And they're good plans. And then it says, and if you seek me, you will find me if you seek me with all your heart. And of course you would, because you would want to do what's best. And so that's what a Christian mom believes about stepping away from her career. That I am doing the more important work of taking the humans, my little humans, and growing them up to love God and understand his ways. So that when they meet him, they're like, hey, I know you. I know you. Yeah. What a gift. Generational lines are affected by what you do as a mom, not what you do at the place where you work and you're moving papers around. What you do as a mom is what is going to change the generational line of the family that you have. It's important. It's vital. We must restore the value to motherhood, marriage, and home. We must. The enemy is out to get us. Okay, so the stats. I think that's it that I wanted to tell you on this little bit longer than normal podcast, on our 100th podcast. I want to tell you that, your marriage matters, your mothering matters, and you, sweetie, you matter. Your kids matter. And it's such a wonderful thing to know that you're changing generational lines by what you have decided to do. These are wonderful statistics. I hope you'll write them down. And when I get them all together and we talk about them in the academy, then it'll be fun and you'll be able to really grasp a hold of it. We need to have a foundation of knowing why we do what we do. Because as in Pinterest, we can see why. I mean, we can see an idea, right? We're looking for an idea. And then we kind of see an idea and we're like, oh yeah, I could do that. But just seeing it and knowing it, that's not making it happen in your life. But sweetheart, when you know why you do something, you will figure out how. You'll figure out how. And you'll look to other people to show you the way. Statistics like this that will shore you up and back you up, to give you the confidence that, yes, what I'm doing is vital. It is the most important job in the world. Because as they're telling us here, that if we continue in this decline of motherly intuition, where there's a gap, because those babies that, those offsprings that did not get licked and groomed, they didn't have it to give to their children. And then they didn't have it to give to their children. And they didn't have it to give to their children. And eventually, there's a decline of the complete society. It is the death of a society. So is the life of a society in the tender care of a mother? Yeah. Doesn't mean dads aren't important. Doesn't mean your gifts and talents aren't important. It just means that the blood life of a child starts with his mother. It is extremely valuable. Very, very valuable. And I think God designed it that way. That's how he came to the earth. That's how God, in his wisdom, he wanted to send his son. Where did he send him? You've heard me say this. He didn't send him to academia where they could teach him how to be smart. Didn't send him to the Pharisees so he could learn all about the Bible and what God says. Didn't send him to the politics where he could learn to rule and reign because he was going to be king. No. He sent his most precious possession, God's most precious possession, his only son. He sent him to the arms of a mother, under the protection of a father. He sent his son to a family and where he could be nurtured and grow. It's a wonderful thing. It is, in my opinion, and I'll bet yours too, the most valuable place for a baby to start, with its mother. And there aren't very many men that don't love the view of their women, their wives, holding their babies and knowing that they're going to protect them. All kinds of hormones go off on them too. God created this. He designed it. It's good and it's wonderful. Okay. I hope you've enjoyed this little dip into some kind of sad stuff, but wonderful stuff for us to have to give us the support and confidence that we need to encourage us in our motherhood. Because there's been some diabolical lies about motherhood. And I hope today we've X'd them all off our list. And we all agree that our motherhood is very, very vital in this country. And we're going to restore it. We're going to restore the value to motherhood and womanhood. We're going to bring it out of the rubble. We're going to take away the devil's clinches on us, and we're going to rebuild in the way God designed it. And you know why? Because moms like us, we do things like this. And when we do, I want you to be there. Bye for now.